We're now going to look at the options settings for the interface. We can access that in two ways. We can either go to the application menu, come down to the bottom and select options, or we can type in OP and enter. So the options is where all the settings for the interface are located. On the top left, we see we have current profile. It currently says unnamed profile. We'll get to that at the end. And on the right hand side, it shows what drawing is currently open. And the options is organized using all of the tabs at the top here. First one is our files. So what this section is referring to are the file paths and file locations for certain things like our printer settings, our template files, or data sources, that kind of thing. So basically it's the file path for AutoCAD to use to search for certain information on our computer. So there's quite a lot of information to dive into all of this. So what I'll do is I'll give an example which you can follow for each of the headings. So what we've done already is we've already covered a template. So we understand what a template is. And what we can do is we can change and alter the file path for AutoCAD so that it goes to a particular folder. So if we scroll down, we have template settings. We can hit the plus symbol, which will expand it. So in here we have our drawing template file location. So if I click on the plus symbol to expand that out, there's our file path for our template. So there on my computer within this folder is the location of my template file. So if I change the template file location on my computer, I must change the file path, otherwise AutoCAD will not find it. Next we'll come down to default template file name for QNew. So when we create a new template file, what we can do is we can actually specify exactly what template file we want AutoCAD to use. So when we press the plus symbol, it says none. So what we can do to add in a template file is we could go to browse, and that will go into our template file location, and there are our templates. So when we click on new, we can open up a particular template file. So choose open. Every time I want to open up a new template file, the ACAD ISO.dwt will be chosen. So for each one of those headings, it's all the same step for what we have just done. So I won't cover all of the other headings, as the format for what we've just done is all the same. Next over we have our display, so our current display of our interface. So what I'm going to do is just cover certain topics within the options, just so you can understand what is here, and then in the future you can come back and you can be pretty familiar with all of these settings, and if you want to change something, you'll know what to do. So what I've got here is my color theme. It's currently on dark. I have an option to change it over to light. If I press apply, you'll see that all the interface will change and our colors will be light. I'll go back to dark, press apply. I'm going to then come down to the next option, which shows display scroll bar in drawing window. So if I turn that on, press apply, we'll see we have our scroll bar within the drawing window. I'm going to turn that off. So you get the general idea of each one of these. Depending on what you'd like on, you can do that here. What we're going to come down to next are the colors. So if we select colors, so we have three steps. On the left, we have context. So we have 2D model space, which is our current view. We have our sheet layout space. So later on, when we go to our sheet layouts, here is where we can change all that information. Then we have the different 3D parameters, our block editor, which we'll cover later on in the course, our command line, which is down the bottom here, and our plot preview, how we want to show when we're in a plot, which is a print. So we'll come back to 2D model space. When we come over to the next section, which is our interface element, we have all the different parameters which we can change. So we have uniform background, our crosshair, the viewport controls, our grid major and minor lines we can change, and as well the grid access lines. So for the demonstration, what I want to show is the uniform background. It's currently on a color of 33, 40, 48. What I want you to do is change over to black, press apply, and we'll see that the background is now black. So coming back into the colors, you have the option of changing to any color you wish. Again, for me, for my personal preference, I prefer black, as I find drawing with the white line, it just makes my models more clear. But as you begin to use the software yourself, you will know which color will be best for you. So we'll click applying and close. Coming down, we have layout elements. So just to briefly cover that, we have a display layout or model tab, so we can turn them on and off here on the bottom left. Coming up, we have our display resolution. So how we want to display our arc circles, the segments and the polylines, our rendered object smoothness, contour lines per surface. We can change those points here. We have our display performance and our crosshair size. So it's currently set to 5. What that is referring to is when we're modeling, we have our crosshair, which is our cursor. If I come back pressing OP for options, if I increase that to 100, press apply, come back into the drawing, we see that it comes right across the screen. I personally find this the best because I'm able to line certain objects up very quickly. And if I'm on one side of the screen, I can use the crosshair to see how it matches up to something on the other side of the screen. OP for options, come back. So quickly going over to the next tab, we have open and save. So we have the first one, which is file save. So this particular drawing, we can save it as, we're able to back save it from 2018, 2013, 2010. Like we spoke about this before, this depends on if your client doesn't have your current version and you have to back save it. This is where you do that. Then coming down, we have file safety precaution. There is an automatic save feature within AutoCAD that does save every 10 minutes. It is there as a safety precaution, but do not rely on it to save your drawings. Get into the habit of saving your drawings every 15 minutes yourself. And next tab over, we have plot and publish. So we can set our default printer. Where do we want our plot file to print to? So again, that's our file path where we want it to be. And the other settings we won't touch on just at the moment, as it's a little bit too much for the beginning of the course. We can then come over to the system. Here we can check our graphics performance. Over on the right, we have our info center. So the balloon notifications that you've been seeing popping up, we're able to turn them on and off. Come over to user preferences. So little things like double click editing, we're able to have an option to have that on and off. It's currently set to on. And when we right click on something, we can fully customize what we want to do with that. And coming up to the drafting tab. So things like the auto snap marker size. So when we're looking for our snapping points, we can make them bigger or smaller if necessary. And the aperture size attached to our cursor as well, we can change the size of that. So once you've finished the course, it will be best to come back to all of this because you'll understand everything in more detail and you'll understand if you want them on or off, or do you want these to be smaller or bigger. So we'll come over to the selection tab and things like our pick box size. You can have that bigger or smaller, grip size as well. And once you've made all of these changes, you can come down to the last tab, which is our profiles tab. So what you're able to do is we can make all of these changes to the settings and then we can create a profile. If you have multiple people using the same software, each person can create their own profile. So then when you come on to use it yourself, all you have to do is change over the profile to yours. All settings will be updated and you can then continue with your drawing. So everything that we've just changed right now, what we can do is we can add to the list. And I'm going to call mine Steve. We can add a description if we want, apply and close. And once done, we can then set to current. We'll see then the current profile at the top has now been changed to my name. If we were to ever change computers, what we can do is we can actually export all of our settings as well. We'll then press OK and come back to the drawing.